Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Belle Stitch's Pirates, a channel about cross stitch for the most part and occasionally some other crafts. I'm Naomi and this is Flosstube number 12. I filmed last week and I live on the corner of an intersection that, despite a four-way stop, seems to be extraordinarily busy. And all the editing in the world couldn't fix the fact that it sounded like an Indy 500 drag race out there. I paused, I redid sections every time I heard the loud cars. I couldn't. I reached a point I was just like, there's no fixing this audio. All the editing in the world is not going to fix this. So I'm going to redo the primary project that last week was about. The other thing last week had in it was the winner of the giveaway that I did in episode 10 and reiterated in episode 11. And it's for this chart, Stitching Generations Together. And the winner was Mrs. Stitches. So I commented on your post and asked you to email me your address. So congratulations on winning the chart. Send me your address and I will get it posted out to you. So February, let's do a quick February recap, which is the last week of February. I only stitched on really one project, which was Tropical Treasures by Heaven and Earth, or John Enright with Heaven and Earth Designs doing the charting. And this was a serious focus piece for February. I didn't originally intend it to be a focus piece, but it ended up becoming a focus piece. So it's about a page and a half long. It's 140 stitches down to this line. And then this is almost to the corner of page 3. So I've got all of page 1, the top part of page 10, because it's 9 pages across and 9 pages down. A good chunk, I'd say most of page 2. Page 2 comes to about here. And I'm really enjoying the way the sky is coming in and the trees. If you haven't been here before, when I first started this is 22 count Hardanger fabric that I dyed. And when I first started it, I started out 2/1. And I reached a point up in this section where it was extremely thick, and the ninja stitches, I could see them on Pattern Keeper, but I didn't see them. They were very difficult to find. And so in this little spot right here, I decided to test out 1/1 and see what the coverage would be like. And I really like it. I'm not 100% sure that it would have worked quite so well if I hadn't done a blue dye job on the fabric, because the darker colors, the fabric didn't show through very much, but over in the sky when I first started doing it, it was like, ooh, it's a good thing that there's blue behind there because it's a little thin. But then when you pull it back and you look at it from a distance, it looks just fine. So I made a ton of progress on this piece. I almost reached 10,000 stitches. It's about 2/3 of my stitching for the month of February is what I got put in here. I did almost 15,000 stitches for the month of February and across 4 whips, and this one has almost 10. So 2/3 of the stitches are in this piece. Jumping back a smidge in my plans for this episode, in between watching the Paralympics, I've discovered there's really like a 3-hour block in the evening when it's current contests, current competition, and the rest of it is repeats, usually from the 3-hour block shown the day before. So I'll be watching something and go, hang on, this is the race I saw last night. So I've gone back to watching some Flosstube, and there's a handful of newer Flosstubers or returning Flosstubers that I have watched and really enjoyed. So we have Rachel Ray. She started out, I think, doing diamond painting, but she has started doing some cross-stitching, and her videos lately are more cross-stitching related. She does a lot of unboxings and things like that. And we've got the SewWhatStitcher, and I really enjoy her videos. She has a very down-to-earth style and just reminds me of my time living in Florida. That little bit of a southern accent with very practical, down-to-earth personality. Sweetwater Stitcher is a new one. She just put out her 3rd video today, and she does some gorgeous small, fully finished. They're amazing. She talks a lot about where she gets the various display pieces that she uses in her fully finished objects. I Swear I Am Stitching. I just found her yesterday and had a good laugh. She does cross stitch and she does quilting, and the bulk of her video was about quilting, making quilts for her dog's beds. And it's just, she's humorous, and I really enjoyed her episode. Kayla Gray Stitches is a newer Flosstuber, and really enjoyed watching her go through her pieces that she's working on, and her daughter popping in to say hi. And then on the diamond painting end of things, Diamonds and Washi she calls them whippin' chats. And her most recent one, she was talking about the emotional but also family crisis that she and her family have recently been through, and the emotional toll that it took on her as a parent, watching your child be very ill and finally figuring out why they're so ill, leading to rapid treatment, but scary treatment, you know, emergency surgeries, nothing to take lightly. And so just the sharing of what's going on in her life while she diamond paints, and her manner of sharing, I found very pleasant to watch. And additionally, I could empathize with the situation, having a nephew who has not had to have the emergency surgery, but certainly, you know, had the moment as a surrogate parent of, hang on, child screaming, writhing in pain, what's going on? And, you know, the kid's making a lot of racket and noise and bothering people when it's 2 a.m. in the morning at the ER, and the homeless populace who are crashed out in the ER waiting room are like, get that kid out of the waiting room, he's keeping us from sleeping, to the staff. And you're just like, sorry, I'm trying to keep him from yelling and screaming. That was a while ago, but those memories don't exactly leave you. He has no memory of that visit to the ER 6-7 years later. His mom and I have a vivid memory of that visit to the ER. And then just, you know, her challenges with a child with autism, in having to interpret because they struggle with putting words to feelings. I took my nephew to an eye doctor appointment, and you know, he's on the spectrum. It was a very difficult diagnosis to get because too many people, even those in the medical field who ought to know better, looked at him and said, he's sociable. What do you mean he's got delays in social interactions, that he doesn't understand things? This is a kid who walks up to strangers and talks. Yeah. And you think he's got autism? Yep. So we had to fight. My sister fought really hard, and I encouraged the fight and went to meetings with her. I still go to meetings with her, just to get a diagnosis, because of that personable nature that he has, that desire to make friends and be friends, while doing it often in an ineffective or inappropriate manner. So we're at the eye doctor, and you know, they've done all their this side, you know, is number 1 better, number 2 better, this, that, and the other. Okay, you know, look through it and read the chart and tell me what the smallest one you can read is. And he's like, okay, keep looking through it. And he's overwriting on his little computer screen, and he goes, how does that feel? Well, you and I would make the jump from, I'm at the optometrist, I'm at the eye doctor, and he's got me looking through this thing that simulates glasses. He wants to know how my eyes feel. My nephew goes, it hurts. And I saw the look of, holy crap, I've got the wrong prescription on the eye doctor's face. And I looked at my nephew and I said, what hurts? My neck. The leaning forward into the machine was at just the right angle that he was getting a crick in his neck. And as soon as he said his neck, the eye doctor's like, oh, okay, maybe it's not the prescription I just dialed in for him. And I'm like, okay, now he was asking you about your eyes. How do your eyes feel looking through the machine? Oh, that's just fine. I can see things really clearly. All right. But even at 15, I had to translate for him and make that connection between what the doctor's unspoken portion of the communication was, so that the two of them were on the same page. So I definitely understand her struggle trying to help the doctors and medical professions figure out exactly what was going on with her kiddo, and while it was still more of an observation thing, and trying to interpret his descriptions into something that the medical staff would understand and be able to correlate into, is this a concern or is this what we expect? So, March plans. I'm doing WIPGO. I have the two March numbers that were called were number 15 and number 21. 15 was to stitch 50 stitches each day. And so I picked Map by Ink Circles, and if I miss a day in the month of March, because I started off missing days in the month of March, I didn't actually get around to it until the 3rd or 4th. It was when I finally took it out of its bag and put it on a Q-snap. But since March has 31 days, I'm going to do 31 days worth of working on it. And right now I'm at 6 days out of 31. So I've missed 4. And then number 21 was to stitch for 5 days on a 2020 WIP. So I evaluated the 2020 WIPs that I have left and picked my Steampunk Mermaid. And in my March plans, I'm doing, let's say, an extreme March Madness bracket. Basically, it's 2 brackets, and then the 31st is the winner of the winner of each side is the one that ends up getting stitched on the 31st. The grand winner. So what I wanted to do with that was to rotate through my WIPs based on size category. I looked at the categories, and for small medium I had 3. I had 2 smalls and 1 medium. So I grouped those in a category, and then my larges I have 5, and my big ass projects, BAPs, monsters, I have 10. So I put them into a tiny decision wheel and spun the wheel and worked my way down. I started with small and then went to large, then BAP, then small, you know, all the way down through, and ended on small. So there's one more small than there is large or BAP. So the first project was a new start technically, because I finished my previous Mill Hill kit. So I'm trying to have 1 Mill Hill kit on the go at any given time, and then 1 Brooke's books on the go at any time. So this is a piece to finish out my Mill Hill Nativity set. I want to say I've got 3 more pieces that I need to do. But this is called Luke. It's one of the shepherds. So that's a sheep. And this is not one day. Spoiler alert. This one won its contest against the next project. So this was a new start, and the first day I did most of this blue cloud, a chunk of the hood head wrap, and probably about to there on the staff. And then last night was the first project moving forward, and I did a bunch. I did 900 stitches yesterday. But I did all of this background here. The sheep's head, the ground, and then all the green. And I suspect this one will end up moving on. The piece it's up against is another one that's of high, that I stitch pretty fast and quite a bit on, but I'm not sure that it'll get 900 stitches today. And that's okay. I have no problem finishing this in the month of March and moving on to a new Mill Hill kit. Then day 2, I did not put these in order. I just pulled them out and put them in. Day 2 is the piece that I'm making a temperature sow. Or not temperature sow. It was a sow, and I am converting it into a temperature type chart. So this is Peacock Garden by Linens and Threads, which is now Fox and Rabbit. And I did the whole Peacock before, I think the end of December I did the whole Peacock, or maybe the first part of January. So all I did was I did these borders, and each of them is 2 days worth of temperature. And in the process I discovered that I was missing a bunch of thread. Rather that I'd run out of a thread color that is in a bunch of the days in February. So I picked up threads the next day to restock. So there's a lot of starts and stops because almost all of these have the missing thread color. Or in the case of this one over here, it goes further down, and the way I had the Q snap was to it came across the peacock, so I was stitching this way. So this was up against the Mill Hill kit, and while I got 400 or 500 into it, it came nowhere close to the 700 or 800 I put in the Mill Hill kit. So it did not move forward, but that won't keep it from coming back another month. And I'm not in a huge hurry. I'm planning on taking my time with that piece. Then the next piece was the Mysterious Adventure Project by Ink Circles Designs. And I am still on part 1 of the project, which is to do a border. So you pick your size, and I made this ginormous. It's like 600 and something across by 300-400 down. So that's the top, and then underneath the Q-snap. And I finally got to the bottom, and I actually miscounted my repeats. Miscounted and miscalculated what my dimensions are. This is a heat removing pen, so I just get rid of it. It was easier than trying to figure out how many repeats to do to fix the border. So the border has one more bit before it's completed across, which is the basically like the scale set. So it's a red and white repeat down along the inside with then another black border for that, and goes all the way around. So slowly but surely making progress on this. This is my number 15 on WIPGO, do 50 stitches a day, which is not challenging to do. I've had a couple days where I did a lot more than 50 stitches, but you know, just keep a color active, and then just stitch the repeat until I run out of that thread or space. So slowly but surely making progress. Kind of hope that by the end of the 50 stitches a day task, by the time I complete number 15 on my WIPGO, that I'll actually end up having this whole border on one side done, and can say that the border's basically a quarter of the way done. It won't be a true quarter because that's a short side, not a long side. And it is very much a rectangle. But that's my daily piece, if you will. Most days. Getting better at picking it up first and doing the 50 stitches, and then going to whatever my bracket says. So then went to another new start, which is this, and I'll put a picture in of what it'll look like, but it's a Brooks Books angel called Spirit of America, and she got 500 or so stitches to make all this. She's quite an interesting dress. So going through and currently working on, as you can see, the dress. This piece up against the Mysterious Adventure Project ended up winning. It didn't end up winning by a lot, less than 100 stitches, but it did end up winning. So this is my piece for tonight. We'll see how much I managed to get done on it, and then it will be up against the 900 stitches for this Mill Hill. So I don't think that it will end up winning this go round, but on my second bracket it's on there again, so there's the possibility that it will move forward from the second half of the month. Then I worked on I'll be back. I didn't pull it. Okay, I'm back. This was my next piece. This is Incomparable by Forbidden Fiber Company. It is their piece that they did for their mystery box themed around the Bridgertons. And I've done the house, and this is a big giant tree. So I worked my way around. I may have worked around this way. Either way, I basically did one little leaf at a time and zigzagged my way, which you can see from the back. Zigzag my way around the tree, and now I'm putting in the branches, and that was exactly 500 stitches. And it went up against my next piece, which is Pandemic. And this is a piece that was on WIPGO. I was supposed to do 500 stitches in one color. And then that was a January call. And in January, I was also doing the winter bingo in one of the groups. And I didn't think to cross-reference my WIPGO against the bingo group. This was nowhere to be found on my bingo card for the group. I didn't declare it on any of the prompts. So I reached a point in January where I was so focused on the bingo that I forgot about or ignored WIPGO, and one of my WIPGO pieces ended up being on the bingo card, and so it got done. It ended up getting done. But Pandemic, since it wasn't on the bingo card, didn't end up being one that I pulled out and did those 500 stitches. Then in February, I was semi-monogamous and really didn't feel like pulling it out. And so it came up, and I pulled it out and I put it on the frame, and I started stitching, and I was just like, not feeling it. So I finished this little bit down here of this diagonal, and then this diagonal I did basically from the top down. It had the top 2 rows to get me over to the corner, because that's the corner. So that's as wide as it's going to be. I went through, and I kid you not, I got to 500 stitches and I said, I'm done. So 500 against 500, I went, okay. I was thinking this was coming back simply because I pushed myself to get the 500 so I could cross WIPGO off. And then I had it in my head I only did like 400 on the Incomparable piece. And so I was pleasantly surprised when I re-looked at my notes from the day before and realized that Pandemic and Incomparable had tied. And so I proceeded to decide that Incomparable's moving forward since I'm kind of over this piece. And then my next piece is Steampunk Mermaid. My husband says that I need to modify it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So this is Steampunk Mermaid. that's a pretty accurate representation of the background. It's pink, pretty pink. But he's watching me stitch on it and he goes, "That's creepy. She's holding a diving helmet. You know, if there was red stringers coming out, it'd look like she'd ripped a head off. It'd be perfect for Halloween." Not the vibe I was going for, but you know, that's what he thinks I should modify this with. This is a Brian Kesinger design. He's a graphic novelist, artist, and he asked Stuart Cunningham from Cunning Cross Stitch to chart some of his designs into cross stitch. So this is one of them, is Steampunk Mermaid. And it, by the luck of the wheel, was up against this piece, which is also a Cunning Cross Stitch piece. This is his Magic Kingdom Sal from last year. And I started this puppy when the Sal started in January of 2021. Started with the aerial piece, and the aerial piece took me like 3 days and it was done. Then Alice took me about as many days in February. And then I got to Snow White, and the massive amount of, it's not even fractional stitches, it's confetti stitches to do the 7 dwarfs. And I just faded into oblivion. So I had her head and the apple and the sky, and I'd almost finished the dwarves. I had not done any of this except for the random odd stitch here and there. So I picked it up and I finished March and said, I'm good. I'm going back to the Mysterious Adventure Project, the map. And needless to say, because I did that and didn't try to start April, it lost out to Steampunk Mermaid. But it's coming along shortly, and each scene builds up until ultimately there is a castle. So it's coming along slowly but surely. I finished March in March, just the wrong year. So, we'll see if she's still a whip next year, but this was day 8, and she lost out to the Steampunk Mermaid. So those are my pieces. I'm going to keep working my way through. So this coming week is working through the brackets. So today is the second day of the round 2 brackets, and my Brooks Books piece, tomorrow I'll see which one won, Brooks Books or the Mill Hill. And then from there we have Incomparable going up against Steampunk Mermaid. And then the winner of these two will go up against the winner of these two. And whichever one wins out of those will go up against, because then I'll start over on the, that takes me I think to the 15th, midweek. And then I start over with my second bracket. I start over all over again, so I'll have 8 days of first round of bracket, and then 4 days of the next round of bracket, and then 2 days, and then the winner of that side will go up against the winner of out of these 4. And like I said, the small pieces are on there multiple times. So Steampunk Mermaid's on the other bracket, Brooke's book is on the other bracket, and so is the Mill Hill kit. Because smalls and mediums are just, they're on there multiple times. I've only got 3 of them. So that's where I am for plans. In closing, be kind, seek peace, and I will leave you with this quote from 1945 by Senator Fulbright. Have a good week, and I will see you next week. Bye.